Thank you for attending the Raising Resilient Children web series. Thank you to our coalitions that put this yearly event out. The Addiction Prevention Coalition, All in Mountain Brook, Drug Free Andalusia, the Drug Education Council, For Tomorrow from Alabaster, IMPACT Montevallo, and Safe and Healthy Homewood. We host a webinar each month, so please make sure to follow us and make sure you stay up to date on all the latest news in regards to prevention and helping our youth to reduce substance use and increase mental health. Thank you to Safe and Healthy Homewood also for hosting our Spanish translation of this webinar. Today, Weeding Out the Truth, Investigating Today's Marijuana Laws, Products, and Precautions is being presented by Dr. Maurice Valentine. Maurice is a native of Montevallo, Alabama. He holds a criminal justice degree from Jacksonville State University and a doctorate from North Carolina School of Theology. He has a passion and a heart for people and desires to see them fulfill their purpose, as evident in the variety of activities he's involved in. Maurice is the pastor of Life Changing Christian Center in Pelham, Alabama. Maurice is Maurice serves as the youth coordinator for IMPACT Montevallo, a drug-free coalition that strives to educate and prevent youth substance use and encourage positive mental health. He serves as a mentor at Alabama Teen Challenge, chaplain of Pelham High Athletics, and oversees mentoring groups at Montevallo Middle and Montevallo High Schools, among many other community, fraternal, and ministerial organizations. While working with at-risk youth and adults across our state, he experiences firsthand the substances and related issues people are facing. He also attends national trainings to stay abreast of the latest prevention efforts. Many times we learn about new products and strategies that our youth are using by the personal experiences he has with families coming forward for help. So join me in welcoming Dr. Maurice Valentine.
Hello. Good to see everyone. Thank you so much, Sarah. This is a wonderful opportunity. Now, I can't see everyone, so I pray that if you have any questions, anything that you may need help with I'm going to cover today, please feel free to put them in the chat there. And I will say, as a disclaimer at the beginning, I do not know every single thing that there is to know as it pertains to this topic here. However, I do work with some amazing people. Officer Holloway is one of them, as well as Detective Gray. So if I do make a statement of something that I don't have an answer to, that you may have a question about, I promise you I will get that answer to you as soon as that we can. As well as this slide that we have here is going to be presented to each and every one of you, so you all will be able to have it at your leisure there to go back and look over it. So hopefully we can cover and answer some questions today as it pertains to this topic, weeding out the truth, investigating today's marijuana laws, products, and precautions. So again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share with you guys upon today. Let's see here. I think there we go. So today our presentation, we're just going to cover the types of THC compounds, the variety of products, the marketing of products, the effects and the use, the state and national marijuana laws, precautions, and prevention tips. So again, a lot of this, I'm not going to go word for word verbatim on each slide, but I am going to cover a majority of it. But these are the main things in which we're going to cover upon today's presentation. So before we start, let's talk about why should we be talking and having a conversation about marijuana. Cannabis is the most commonly used illicit drug in the U.S., with 50.7% of the U.S. residents 12 years and older reporting cannabis use. Again, that's 12 years and older. One of the things that I have found, which is the most disturbing to me, is when I work with other people that are totally oblivious to the drugs that are in the community. I was a part of a meeting a few years ago, and we were having a discussion about the drug epidemic and the problems within our community. And one of the ladies, as soon as I began to discuss and to talk about the different drugs or some of the things which I have seen and dealt with personally, she was just totally shocked and said, "Wait a minute, there are drugs here? There are drugs here?" And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, yes, there are drugs here. And one of the worst things that you can do is to assume that just because a place is great, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, all of this, because there's preconceived notions that if we see rundown places or not so well kept places, that we assume that that's where drugs are. Listen, drugs is like air. It is everywhere. Marijuana, it is everywhere. And if you're not careful, there are some things that are done right in front of our faces that we have no clue, which is cannabis or marijuana or anything of that nature. So yes, we have over 50% of our residents 12 years and above. And unfortunately, I have had the unfortunate opportunity of seeing some younger than 12 that have partaken in marijuana, or they have taken things that they did not know was there. So please keep that in mind, to understand that, yes, there are kids, there are babies out here that are partaking in this stuff, and we have no clue about it. What are some of the reasons why that's happening? Grateful you asked there. Three reasons. Number one is there's greater availability. Marijuana is not like it used to be back in the day as far as the selling of it. Back in the day, the selling of it was hidden. It was on the street, so on and so forth. And, you had to, play almost detective to see if to find it. However, today, marijuana is available everywhere. CBD, THC, all of that stuff. It is available everywhere. Matter of fact, it is available in some of the places that you probably don't even realize it's there. And one of them are being, Detective Gray did an amazing job in a presentation upon this when he did a presentation that talked about gas station drugs, which means when you go into the gas station, the majority of the time, y'all probably go up to the counter and you don't even pay attention to the things on the left or the right or that's on the counter at a drug station when you're getting ready to pay for gas or buying some chips, rather. And to your left, you'll see a whole stand of all this colorful stuff that's over there. Or on the counter, you'll see all these colorful things that you probably don't pay attention to. Well, my friend, most of that is THC Delta 8, which we're going to cover today, that is accessible to our kids. It is wide open to our children. I'm grateful for Sarah in Montevallo. We've started a funding, or a group rather, to go to different gas stations and petition them to hide those things, to not put them out in the forefront. And we had a few gas stations to do it, and we had some, of course, that they didn't. So the availability is out there. Number two, the perceived harm, the marketing, the talking about it. One of the things in which I have heard so many parents say, and we have had to take vapes, and we have had to take different things away from children, and the parents would get upset with us because they have the understanding, they have the mindset, and it's completely asinine to believe it to be so, that vaping or this is less harmful than cigarettes. It's less harmful. Here's the reality. Number one, we don't know that for sure. Number two, I can tell you from the short amount of time that this stuff has been out, the short amount of time that these things, all of the different forms I'm going to cover today, I have firsthand seen the negative aspects that these things have. So to think or to assume that your child, and here's the reality, this is the sad part about it, we have parents, and there's parents all over, that are going to purchase this stuff for their children because they believe that it is less harmful. It's less harmful, not understanding wholeheartedly that you are introducing THC into their bodies, and there can be smoking or all these things and consuming these things right in front of you. Also, as different alternatives, people turn to THC for different reasons, for pharmaceutical drug therapies and so on and so forth, medicinal purposes, or they're exchanging one addiction for another there. Okay, so we're going to cover some of those things. So those are three of the reasons in which we have seen of the rise of such rise within our communities all over. And let me just say this. I'm not just speaking from Montevallo only. I have the privilege and the honor to work in Montevallo, to work in Calera, to be in Alabaster. I am also now the chaplain of the basketball team for Pelham. I lived in Anniston for 13 years, from the year 2000 to 2013. So majority of what I'm sharing with you and talking to you about are things in which I have seen from different neighborhoods, from different walks of life, from different backgrounds. I've seen it all. So it doesn't matter if it's from the streets, if it's from whatever the worst place you can think, and the best place that you can believe that you think it's not there. I promise you, it's there. And also, let me just say this too, is before we dive deeper into it, this is not to scare you. It's to make us more aware, to hopefully cause us to have conversations with our children, to cause us to have conversations with one another, to not allow us to be ignorant of these things, but to have an understanding, to share and to talk about these things, and to be more noticeable of certain things, noticeable of certain smells. I thank God again for Officer Holloway that helps me realize and smell different smells and different odors that I can tell, no, that's not a vape, or that's not this, that is something completely different. And a lot of the times these children do those things right in front of our face, and we have no clue that they're doing it because we don't know what to smell or what to look for there. Before we get started as well, there are only 3 states that are remaining that do not have cannabis programs, which is Idaho, Nebraska, Kansas. If you see with us there, and you can go back on this slide here, you'll see that we do have medical cannabis programs. And we're going to talk about that a little later, to what that looks like when it comes to medical. So here's the question, what is the difference? Cannabis, hemp, marijuana, what's the difference? What's the big deal? Is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. Cannabis, hemp, marijuana are all the same thing. The one thing about it, though, as we're going to see, is the different THC levels. And I pray that I can, explain this to the best of my abilities as well. Cannabis, what is a cannabis? Cannabis is, if you look to the bottom right there at the bottom, that leaf there, that is a cannabis. The cannabis is your entire leaf. That's the entire thing. That's the leaf, the flower, the stems, and the seeds. The leaf, the flower, the stem, and the seed. Now, here's the reality about that flower there that you see at the bottom. There's over 125 different cannabinoids there. That flower can be broken up into many different elements. You can take the seeds and use those. You can take the stems and use those. You can take the flower. All of that can play a component, and they can be broken up into different terminologies there. So hemp and marijuana, what is the difference there? Okay, hemp is the cannabis, the sativa L plant, which is a very small, non-intoxicating amount of delta-9 THC. Non-intoxicating. So hemp is non-intoxicating. So hemp is derived of 0.3% and below of THC, okay? It's 0.3% and below is what is known as hemp. Marijuana is when it's delta-9 THC, when it's 0.3% and above. When it's greater than 3%, it's when it's known to be marijuana. When it's less than 3%, is when it's known to be hemp. Okay, so hemp and marijuana is a derivative of cannabis. The only thing that's different there are the less than, the percentage. So if it's 0.3%, that's your hemp. If it's 0.3% and above, 0.3% negative or below rather, that's your hemp. 0.3% and above, that's your marijuana there, okay? And again, we're going to go into a little bit more in depth of that. Delta 8, you're going to hear these terminologies. What is Delta 8? What is Delta 9? What is, all of these terminologies that are out there. Delta 8, now here's the thing about Delta 8. Again, this is stuff that you can buy. And if you see these images on here, these are not images that we just pulled out the sky. These are images that are on the market, whether it's on the internet, whether it's in stores, whether it's in gas stations. These things are here. And yes, our children can access these very things and purchase these very things today. And we're going to talk about the marketing schemes of them as well. So what is Delta 8? What's the difference between Delta 8 and Delta 9? Again, it's based off of the percentage. It's based off of the percentage. And I'm going to share with you how that comes to play and how these things can happen in our state and even in our country. And it's not, not to be made aware of. How can it just slide through? And I'll share with that. But Delta 8 is 0.1%, 0.1% or less of THC. That's what makes Delta 8. What makes Delta 9 is 0.3%, okay? So Delta 8, Delta 9 is just a percentage of, again, THC, all right? Now, it is reported that the symptoms or the effects are milder. let me just say this, okay? Although it's 0.1%, if a child was to consume, let's say about, let's look at the gummies here. Let's see, you got Delta 8 gummies, and in that gummy is 1% per gummy. If they consume, let's say if they consume this entire bottle of gummies here, it will still put them at the same level of having the effects as if they were just smoking a full-fledged joint. So just because it's considered less than, again, one of the things about our culture, one of the things about our nature is we do not know how to have discipline and consume things in moderation. So once it is taken out, when it's used, even though it's at low percentage there, it can still give you a same or at least worser effect, or the same effect as Delta 9. So just because it's a lesser does not mean that it's not the same effect. It's thought to have milder effects. And let me just go ahead and make this clear too. The milder effects, because all of these things from the CBD, of course, marijuana has been around for a long time. However, what we're dealing with now is a little bit more different. And we don't fully know to what degree that these things and the effects are the long-term effects. Because one of the things with me is I've seen the short term, but we don't even know what the full term effect can have as of yet. So with the next couple of years, we may see some of these long-term effects in which are happening here. Before I go into this Delta 9, this THC and the cannabis or the CBD there, how do we get to this place here? And it's going to share real quickly. In 2018, there was a farm bill that was passed. And this farm bill was based off, again, the percentage that I just talked about, that I just spoke of. So when it came to the THC of 0.3% and less, it's legal. It's legal. It can, the marijuana leaf. If the marijuana leaf is 0.3% THC or less, then it's passed on. Okay, here's the thing about a grower, a farmer, someone who grows these leaves here. Number one, you have to have a license to grow. Number two, the problem with that is this farm bill is that it gave two tests. It gave a pre-test and a post-test. Okay. The pre-test is when they would test this leaf and they test it for THC and THC-A. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. THC and THC-A, and that's just a different modification, okay? Now, once they tested for THC, they were testing to see what's the percentage in there. If it's 0.3% and less, it'll pass. If there is no THCA in it, it's going to pass. So there couldn't be any THCA, nor could there be anything above 0.3%. It passed. Now, here's the problem. After it passed, they did a post-test, all right? That post-test only tests for THC and nothing else. So what farmers found is a loophole to say after that first test, we can add anything we want to this as long as we don't modify the THC level. And we can add all of these different things to it. We can put different things in there and it's going to pass the test. And because the THC, the second test, the post test, only tests for THC and nothing else. And I hope that makes sense to you all. And I hope I'm making sense to you all. So this is how we got to where we are. This is how we got to the different modifications. And when we think about, well, are these things able to be on the market? How are these things able to be out there? Well, because there's a loophole that has been found through our growers, through some of our farmers, the farmers that grows this stuff, and they have used it to their advantage. Okay. So THC. Now, what is THC? This is the first and the last time that I am going to say this name, and I'm going to continue to refer to it as THC. But Delta 9 is tetrahydrocannabinol. Tetrahydrocannabinol. That is the long name for THC. So that's why, if you can see, why we call it THC. Okay. Again, just going back, and I'm going to sound a bit repetitive here, but THC is also where you get your high from. It's what causes you to become high. It's that's what gives you your buzz. That's what gives you that that euphoric high there. Okay. Now CBD has become popular. It has become very popular. It's cannabinoid. Okay. Now here's the thing about CBD. It is non-intoxicating, but here's the big problem with CBD, or the big marketing problem. Many people will say that CBD does not have THC in it. That is impossible because CBD is a derivative from THC. So you cannot separate CBD from THC. Now, what you can look for is, again, that 0.3% and below, because THC is in CBD oil. Okay, it is very important to understand that that it is in there. And if you look at these vapes here, this vape in front of you on this thing, it has Delta 9 and CBD together. Okay, so that's letting you know that this has full-fledged CBD THC in it. But if you have CBD and it's just CBD alone, it is important that you read the little fine print and see how much THC is in this bottle here, because just because it's CBD, it has been marketed as if it doesn't have THC, and that is not the truth. And I have seen kids, I have seen adults who have said, well, I just smoked a cartridge, I just smoked a jewel, I just smoked a vape, I just smoked a CBD, I just put the oil, or just and that's all I did. Well, let's look at it and see what you consumed. Not too long ago, I ran into this very problem. They said, well, I just got a nicotine vape. I just got the juice. However, within that carton was a substantial amount of THC, and it caused them to hallucinate horribly bad, And again, if you do not do your research, and if you become consumed by the marketing and the things that they put out there, do your research. Okay, I can't tell you enough about that. All right. Next thing here is the THC-O. Again, these are different brands. Like I said again earlier, how they can just put stuff in there. Excuse me. This is known as Delta 8, Delta 9 compound, which they add acid to. They add acid to this. And here's the problem with that, is that it is known to be reported it is 2 to 3 times stronger than Delta 9 THC. So it increases the high. Now, I've seen someone on this. Matter of fact, it was a young man about, let me say, he was about 5'6", 5'7". I would say probably $150 wet, if that. He ended up smoking some of this stuff, and it was synthetic. And it caused this young man to lose his mind. Now, why do I give his height and his size? Because it took approximately 5 to 6 officers to bring this young man down because of the consumption in his mind, and his mind was just gone off this stuff. Okay. So again, it's not to scare you, but it's just to bring an awareness to you on the strength of these things. Now, I also want you to notice, look how these things are packaged. It's all beautiful and all colorful and all nice and so on and so forth. Doesn't look that harming. I always tell people, man, drugs is a fascination before it's an assassination. Let me say that again. Drugs is a fascination before it's an assassination. So, of course, I'm not going to present it to be scary or this, that, and the other. No, these little nice little packages that you think are not that dangerous, it can be. So, again, if you see something with THC-O, that is letting you know that it has some acid in there. Again, you have hexahydrocannabinol, which is another form that they use just to make this stuff. And again, and I'm going to say something as well with this, and me and Sarah were just talking about it. If you remember back in the day, and I'm not that old, but back in the day growing up, it took about 5 years to a decade, 5 to 10 years for things to change. Well, in today's time, in this generation, things don't take years to change. It takes months. So all of these things in which we're showing you, I mean, if we do this presentation 6 months from now, it could be something well different. That's one of the things that we learn in CATCA, that they always tell us when we have the mid-year as well as the beginning of the year or the full year thing there. even every year is something different because every year is something new. Whether it's from Chicago, Washington, whether it's from California, Maine, Maryland, all over, it's there. So these are different things in which that the hexahydrocannabinol is ways that they can create that. Again, this is the THC-A. This is again a texture cannabinoid acid. Now, let me just say this too about this acid, and I pray I'm not, because I can't see anything, so I hope I'm not speaking too fast there, but I want to be well mindful of your time there. But one thing about THCA, THCA is non-intoxicating. Okay. It is non-intoxicating. And this is what they market. This is how they market. Okay. That it is non-intoxicating. However, it is non-intoxicating until you put fire to it or heat to it. Once you put heat to it, then it converts to Delta 9. It converts to Delta 9. So THCA, it is non-intoxicating again when it's at that 0.3%, and so again, that's when they say, hey, it's not that dangerous or so on and so forth. But what they don't tell you is that until you put heat to it, and they're not going to tell you that part when it's marketed, when it's talked about, when they say, hey, we want to bring these the CBD places to your neighborhood, and it's going to be healing mechanisms, it's going to be for the health and the wealth and the greater good of the people. No, it's not. No, it's not, because majority of that stuff that they won't say, it can be converted over to THC and it can give you that high. And a lot of these kids know that. And it's also a lot of times, to me, which angers me, it's like many people are playing in our faces, and they're playing in our faces at the expense of our children, at the expense of our young kids. We've had kids even in elementary school that had these things. They don't know what it is, but all they did is they saw their big brother or their big sister have it. And so they took it and they want to be cool and they consume these things. And it's funny until it happens to your child. Or it's not even funny. It can either be funny if it's not to your child, but it's also not a problem, or it's not an issue until it becomes your child. If it's your brother, if it's your sister, if it's someone random that's on the news, that's a child, that's a human being, it becomes all of our problem. It's not our problem until one of it's our own. It's our problem when it's a child, period. Okay. So that's that with that. Here's another thing too. The difference here. You have indica and you have sativa. Indica, what is indica? And again, I thank God for Sarah putting this presentation together here to give you the different looks at these leaves and the different things that can be grown and how they can be grown. Indica is is what's called indica couch, or it's your slouch, it's your slag, as some of the kids will talk about. It's your supposedly to use for your depressants. It keeps you, it causes you to be calm. It relaxes you. Heavy body high is an understanding or meaning that, it consumes your whole body. It's like you're mellowed out. Sativa is your upper, your energy. It gives you the energy. It gives you the hype. Now, let me just say this. A couple of years ago, we had a young man that had taken some uppers. Okay. And they kept him up for 3 days, 3 to 4 days. He didn't go to sleep at all. And he was unfortunately with some friends that did not know what to do. And they did the worst thing possible, is giving him some downers. The moment they gave him some downers, he crashed out, meaning his body just began to shut down. And by the time he made it to the hospital, unfortunately, he passed. And we saw that, we encountered that, so if you have a child, or if you have anyone, not just a child, anyone that's on these uppers and they're up for a long time, or they're no downers, they're sleeping all the time, they're not got out of bed in 2-3 days, do not give them anything. Rush them straight to the hospital. Get them some professional help. Do not assume that because with this stuff here, it is dangerous to try to help without the understanding and the knowledge of that. So what do you do if you run across it? Get them to the hospital. Okay. The hybrid is when both of these are together. It's called a bowl of soup. Okay. And so when you put these together, it's your indica and your sativa together. It gives you, it's as they consider the best of both worlds. Now, as I've just shared with you, it is not the best of both worlds. It's the worst of both worlds. However, unfortunately, one of the things in the community of today is that anything that's about to almost kill you is like what they just rush to go and get. They rush to go and try to find anything that they can find and try to get that high, that close to death. Next question here is for the sake of time. I don't want to, again, take up your time here. The question that we're oftentimes asked is, has the potency of marijuana changed? Yes, it has, dramatically. Okay, dramatically. If you grew up in the 60s and the 70s of what they call the ganja and all of that kind of stuff, this is not the same. I promise you it is not the same. Back in the day, in 95, as you can see, THC or marijuana was around about the level of 3.96 as far as the THC consumption there, okay? Now in 2021, this is just 2021, it's 15.34%, which means, now they did a study. I think the last study they did, I forgot, I think it was in 2022. I can't remember. But the study shows, excuse me, that the consumption that the human body can take is anywhere from 15 to 18%. So if you smoke a joint, back in the day, the joint was like 3.96% THC, right? Our bodies can only take anywhere from 15 to 18% before it starts like going real to the, you see in purple skies and blue bunnies and all of those things, okay? Back in the day, it took about 3 to 4 joints to get to that place. Okay. Now, one hit automatically takes your body way past the limit. Just one joint. Okay. And there are some joints that are out there that's close to 40, 50, 60%. So again, when you are just one hit, and they call it one hit a quitter, and they call it that for a reason, because one hit can cause you to hallucinate. And it is so sad because people are recording these people going crazy online, and they're sharing videos on Snapchat and YouTube and Instagram and all the social media platforms about people that are what they call tweaking. They're tweaking because they have hit a joint that their body can't consume. They can't take it. So yes, the potency of drugs are not the same as they used to be. Okay, so please get that through your head. All right. Next thing today, this next part I'm going to talk about is the different products that are being sold and how they're marketed and all of that. So let's get to this next one here. This is something that I thought was very interesting. A 2024 study found a total of 573,854 unique U.S. cannabis derived product listing online. And a lot of us, it is important, parents, to please learn how to operate what your child is operating. Do not assume, and even look at the cartoons that they're looking at, because a lot of this stuff is being marketed through cartoons, believe it or not. And they're giving languages and terminologies that you may not know it and you think is harmless, and I'm gonna show you like even some dances that we do that we think is harmless, and we do them with our child, not knowing this is a connection to drugs, but we think it's cute. It's not. Okay. Here's something too. They are creating an AI-powered app that can give you the recommendation to create your own strand of weed. And here's the dangers about AI. AI has no moral compass. It has no moral ability to know what's right and what's wrong. Okay. So therefore, if you say, hey, I want this, I want this, I want this, or I want this strand, I want this, AI can create it for you, give you the pattern on how to create it, so on and so forth. I will share. I remember, unfortunately, I was in the hospital last year during the time of the Olympics. And as I was in the Olympics, I don't know why, but for some apparent reason, I guess Snoop Dogg became the the spokesperson or the mascot of America, and he was traveling all over. And so one of the announcers asked him, he said, hey man, how are you enjoying over here, Paris, and how are you enjoying everything? And have you done anything? And of course, we knew what he was insinuating to, and he started laughing. And one of the things he said, yeah. He said, man, I got a hold of something last night, and they called that sticky icky, that someone created. And he said, I will never do that again. Now, here's the reality. If Snoop Dogg says that I will never touch that again, then we must realize that there are some dangerous things that are out there that is enough to even make someone like that, which is not a celebratory thing, but someone who has been doing this in the whole entire life, to say, you know what, I don't even want to touch anything of that. So this is the creativity of the things in which are coming out in today's time. And yes, they are bringing AI to the cannabis arena. All right, so here's some different type of products here. You know, they have different flavorings: lemon, cake, strawberry. Now, but before we go forward, who do you think they are marketing this to? What grown person finna go in this? I want some strawberry. I want this. No, everything is geared towards kids. All of this stuff is marketed wedding cake. You know, now of course, if it's Bluebell, I'm going for it all day. However, when it comes to this stuff here, I'm not going for that. You know, however, this stuff is marketed towards our children. Again, you can look at these things, and I want you to see here it says medical cannabis infused gummies for the medical reasons, the medical this or medical that. Then you have hybrid. Remember that we just talked about the under the wedding cake with the hybrid, what we just discussed, the upper and the downer, the sativa and the indica. You know, those different things there. Okay, remember that. So this is again why it's important to know this stuff so you can read labeling and not just pick up something and not know what you're consuming. Also, here's another thing here. The bud of the earth, the dry plant material, is used as in blunts or pipes or bongs or vape. And here's the thing too, let me just mention about that bong. If you go to your grocery stores, you'll see that they're selling bongs like wide open again, right in front of our faces, and we don't even realize that it's there. Okay, pre-roll surge in the popularity in 2024. The THC-A indica. Now remember what we just talked about, that until fire hits it, it is not intoxicating. But the moment you blaze it up, that's when it becomes intoxicating. So it's good for us to know that, because you'll have people that will try to sell that and they'll tell you, oh, it's not intoxicating, knowing that it can be. It can be. It is not intoxicating as long as it's in that place where it is right there. No fire, no heat to it. The moment you put fire to it is the moment it turns into THC. Now, here's what I was referring to earlier when we talked about the oil and the concentrates. This is what's known as dabbing. What you see that young man doing is dabbing. Yeah, and if you heard that, that was a dance back in the day. Let me see you dab. And many people thought it was, oh, my kid's doing it all. It's a fun dance. Yeah, it's a fun dance, but there's some innuendos that is attached to that you have no clue. And so when people begin to dab or they begin to smoke or inhale, and what they call it is a dabber's cough, and that's when they put their arm or their face in their arm like that, and they're coughing into their arm. That's dabbing. So that's the wonderful dance that a lot of y'all learn how to do from your children and did not realize you're doing a dance that's glorifying drugs and things of that nature. Now, again, here's the problem with that. You can take it as it's just a dance, and you can say that all day long. I've heard many parents say that to me. I've talked to many parents that say that to me. Now, I'm very passionate about it. So if you take it serious, take it serious. But if you just, oh, well, you know what, I ain't finna take it that serious. I pray to God that at some point in time, you don't have to take it that serious. I do pray, because there have been many parents. And one of the things that I hate, because I work with different rehab facilities as well. And one of the things I hate is to hear a parent come back and say, I wish I had paid attention. I wish I had listened. I wish, because please do not allow your love to consume your ability to have a discernment about your child or about your loved ones, whomever they might be. Okay. So, but again, don't just take it as just a funful thing. Here's some different products of how it looks. You got the oil, you got the wax, the different sauces and things there. For the sake of time, I can't cover everything. Here's your edibles. You have the baked goods. That's your brownies, that many people think, hey, I'm just eating a brownie. You don't know what you're consuming when you eat those things. Okay. I want to show you too that the Excite over there, the peanut butter nuggets. We think that it's just peanut butter. But again, remember what we just saw in the form back here in the dabs, that it can be all these different forms here. The butter, with aka butter, but the butter that it goes into that form there. So again, you think you're eating something that's not harmful, and you really are. These are your edible charts, your dosing charts. You can look at that, go over at your own convenience there to show the different low doses, the micro dose, the moderate dose there. Same thing here on the different types of products here. Now, this is very interesting on types of products, is that you can see your ketchup, you can see your infused toothpicks. So when you see kids walking around, and you can have kids, and let me just say this too, one of the joyous things that most of our kids like to do is do things in plain sight in front of our parents' faces, and they have no clue what they're doing. So they can have a pick in their mouth. Now, let me just say this on reality too. Every kid with the pick in their mouth does not mean that they, it's this here. Okay. So that's why, again, it's important to have conversations, but it's just for us to make aware, because it's like, oh my God, then what can we, like, hey, you finna go home and go through little Billy backpack. And I mean, so don't scare the young man, okay, or young lady there. All right. Also, you have all these different sauces that are infused with the cannabis. Okay, all of this stuff. The ketchup up there, juice. Now, when I went to CACA, I think 2 or 3 years ago in Texas. At Grapevine, Texas, there was a billboard that had I can't remember which, it was a very well known, I think it was Mountain Dew. But they market it, because they have this stuff in stores, and this is juice. This is cannabis in this. Yes, yes, in your juice, in your drinks. That's why it's important to read. I thank God that I grew up with parents, man, that got on my last nerve when I was younger. But I praise God for them today. Get on your child's nerve. Read what they're drinking. Look at what they're consuming. Okay, because this stuff is out there. This right here is a company right here located in the great state of Alabama and the city of Birmingham. So you can find this right here. And I want you to see, it says healthier and more mindful alternatives to traditional drinking. Healthier. Again, the marketing is always an alternative. It always gives you that illusion that it's healthier or it's better for you. And again, none of this stuff is FDA approved. And I can tell you, and please don't take my word for it, go and talk to many officers. Go and ask them, hey, how do you see when you see people doing this stuff? Like, what's the side effects? And I guarantee you, they'll give you the ugly truth about some of the things that they have seen. Okay. Again, this is another cannabis oil that you can use, that you put under your tongue here, so on and so forth. Now, again, it's considered to be CBD. But I want you to see right there, it says 1,000 milligrams of THC, 1,000 milligrams of THC. All right, that's a lot of THC. Okay, so you think, and of course, yeah, you're gonna be calm. You're gonna be very calm. But in reality, are you gonna be able to be functional? And you're probably not. You're not gonna be aware. Your awareness is not gonna be there. And again, you don't know the drops. It's saying 10 milligrams per serving. But here's the reality: we don't know if you're getting that for real. We don't realize if you're getting that for real. Okay. Also, here's your different lotions, your balms. Now, I will say this. At a school that I was at a couple of months ago, there was a kid that had a patch on, the THC patch, and they thought it was like an athletic patch, like a icy hot patch, but it was actually a patch with CBD, that he was getting that infusion in his skin. So it's important. That's why I thank God again for Holloway. Holloway created I forgot the trailer that is called In Plain Sight, where it mimics a kid's room, to whereas it allows parents to go in, and you have up to 2 to 3 minutes to go through there. And I think it's over 100 or something paraphernalia of drug paraphernalia that's in that room. And you get 2 to 3 minutes to go through and see how much can you find. And majority of our parents don't even come close to finding 10 to 13 things. They, of course, go to the obvious, and he shows you the different places in different areas or stash areas where things are hidden. Let me just give an experience of mine. I had a chance to go and talk to a parent. The parent had me talk to the kid. When I talked to the kid, I said, hey, tell me where it's at, because I know the signs, I know what to look for, and so on and so forth. And he looked at me and said, of course, I don't have anything. I said, hey, man, tell me where it's at, brother. You're not in trouble, so on and so forth. You want to know where it was? It was in his Bible. He had a stash Bible. And he opened that Bible up, and his mother, who was a saved woman, believed in God, so on and so forth. She just fell and went hysterical. But I had to share with her, it's called In Plain Sight for a reason, because majority of our kids or people, not just our children, but people hide things right in plain sight, and you have no clue what's being in there. Okay, they're called stash places. All right. Here's another marketing place here. If you look at these packaging over here, look how fun they look, and Trips Ahoy and Sizzles and Stone and Slushers. Now, I want you to pay close attention to that Cheetos, that flaming hot Cheetos back there. And I'm quite sure the first thing you think, oh my God, no, not the Cheetos. It's not the Cheetos. However, it's important to read the back, because at that very bottom, I don't know if I can, yeah, there we go. That right there, that little triangle part right there, that's letting you know that there is THC in this, or it's infused with something in there. Okay. So again, that's why it's important for you to be in this class or to learn about this stuff, so you can look and what to look for. Now, that's not saying all of those are in there, but if you buy this from a cannabis store, it's more than likely going to be infused with that in there. And again, you can have kids walking around eating that stuff and you not know what the packaging is. Okay. Marketing. Marketing. I want you to look at 2023. Okay. 2,774,925,672 was spent on marketing alone. And who do you think that marketing went towards? Our kids. Our kids. And here's the thing, too. This is something I want you to understand, too, that's very interesting. You realize the same people that make cigarettes are the same people that make vapes. They're not different. Okay. Cool. The people that make Cool Miles 100 are the same people that make the vapes. So of course they're going to tell you it's a different alternative. Why? Because they want you to. So all they're doing is switching the marketing from one thing to another thing. Okay. And so therefore, all of this money that is being spent on the marketing, whether it's the alcohol, whether it's the drugs, whether it's whatever. And of course, when we were growing up, notice that everything that was used to market cigarettes was a party. Everybody was having a good time. And it wasn't until the anti-smoking, commercials that came out that showed you the negative side. But of course, they're not going to show you all this stuff. And they're going to funnel all of this money towards our children. That's why it is important, parents, to stop what you're doing. Become intentional about spending time with your children. Become intentional. And let me just say this on the fly as well. Become intentional to quit investing all that time in their athletics, and also invest just as much time, if not more, in their personal life. Okay. Please do that, because this world, what they're doing here is marketing our children while most of us are being silent, and we're giving our phones over to them to keep them silent. And you don't know what they're watching or consuming with all this stuff that they're watching. All right. Here's some effects that you can see here with the different usage of marijuana, the short-term effects, the effects of the cannabis, the long-term effects. Please take time to look at some of this stuff. Now, I will say this, for those of you who have kids like myself, and you have gone through that teenage phase, don't assume that just because they're irritable or they're having those moments, sometimes it's just teenage. That's why it's important to talk to your child. Don't just assume, oh, you're taking something. Because I've had parents to do that, and they'll bring their child to me and they'll say, oh, my child is going through and they just got something. No, what your child needs is just some attention. That's all. Just talk to your child. Because they see you doing this, that, and the other. And yes, you're providing, but also make sure to provide your time as well. Be that. And please do not say, for the life, please do not say they don't know what it's like, or don't ever say that you're too young to know what it's. Don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. All right. As we wrap this up, there is a different disorders to CBD. Okay, there are different disorders. The DSM-5 talks about a disorder that includes the diagnostic and statistical disorder, which is the cannabis use disorder. 22 to 30% of people who use cannabis have this disorder, and they don't even realize that they have it. And here's a disorder that I like. It's a delusional disorder, and that's my disorder, what I call it. Yeah? Because everyone who's addicted to this stuff always says they can stop, they can quit. I can quit whenever I want to. That's the delusion. That's the mindset that you think you can stop. and you can. Okay, so this stuff can become very, and it is no, it's a no-brainer. It can become very addictive and life-altering there. Same thing with secondhand exposure, just like secondhand smoke. The cannabis or the smoke of cannabis, it can definitely affect those who are around you. That's why, again, if you are a vapor, I don't want to smell your smoke. And I promise you, I will tell you. I will tell you to your face in a loving way, but I will tell you to your face, blow your smoke somewhere else. Keep it from away from my family, keep it from my children. You can mess with your children, don't mess with mine. All right. And especially we had a football game. And if we had a football game and you vaping in the stands and act like can't nobody see you, I mean, you like a choo-choo train with that smoke coming out you. But I promise you, I will tell you, and I will check you very quickly and let you know, very lovingly and very kindly, do not do that. You can hurt yourself, but don't hurt my family. All right. The different uses there, take your time to go over that and check out the different things. I will say this, let me show you, this is the part over here on this side here. Cannabis was used has shown an earlier onset of psychosis, schizophrenia, depression, suicidal thoughts, and behaviors among teens. I've seen every last one of those. I've seen it firsthand. Deal with it firsthand. So this isn't, again, this isn't stuff that we're just telling you to scare you. No, this is stuff that we have seen, okay, with our own eyes. All right, the different effects of the use, the withdrawal, the anger, the irritability. Again, we've seen kids that when you take away their vapes, you take away that stuff, they become, and again, because they don't realize that you're addicted to it. They don't think that they're addicted to it, but you take that stuff away. And let me just say this too, there's an addiction of cell phones. You take kids' cell phones away from them, my God, it's like you can took their entire life away. All right, so please go and check out the effects. There are treatments. Cognitive behavioral therapy. This is one of the things that I'm privileged to do, as well as Miss Sarah, as well as others that may be on here. And I don't have all the answers, but I thank God that I'm connected to a lot of great resources that I will get you the help that you need when it comes to getting treatment for either people you know or for your children there, okay? This is the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission that was founded in 2021 by Governor Ivey. Please take a time and kind of look through that. It's 11:54, so I want to give time to ask questions, but kind of look through all of this to see how things are. I kind of share with you how stuff is grown in the medicinal, from the medicinal standpoint, as well as the illicit. Now, let me just say that real quickly. Medicinal, anything that's medicinal has gone through the proper channeling of testing. Anything that's illicit, which means it is grown outside of that testing, you don't know what you're consuming. Fentanyl, for example, there can be someone who can take fentanyl. Now, it's known that the tip of your finger, the tip of a pen, that's enough fentanyl to kill up to 10 people. That alone. Here's what happened when it's illicit. The reason why it's such a killer when it's like that, because in illicit, you can be breaking up what you consider or think is fentanyl, and some fentanyl or some things you break up might not have any in it. So that's why some people say, oh, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to harm you because it didn't do anything to me. That's because you didn't get probably anything in it by the grace of God. But then on the second hand, you get someone who smokes it and they die because it's not broken up properly. So anything that's illicit does not go through the proper channels. So you do not know how much is or isn't in there. Okay. So that's the difference from there. Here's some different things too to talk about the patients in which you can receive the registration for those who get the medicinal oils or marijuana or anything of that nature that is medicinal. Okay. Advertising restrictions, the consequences for people who actually get these things and they begin to sell it on the side. There are some consequences. So don't think you can just jump in there and start selling it and think you can go through all this stuff and then sell it on the side. And it's not, there are penalties and consequences for that. You can look at the retail growth, the educational, the legalities, and kind of went over that there. Precaution, I kind of shared with you with the fentanyl things as well as with that as well. Prevention tips, advocate, and this is a thing too, again, with the prevention tips, connect with, I don't know where everyone is from, but please connect with people around to prevent and to have conversations with your children, to have talks with your kids. I like to call it table talk. And one thing that I found in homes today, most homes don't have tables anymore. They don't have dining room tables. Everyone's table now is their rooms. Make sure to become intentional to sit around a table and talk. So there's different prevention tips, different programs. Find these programs, join these programs, become a part of these programs, become a part of these mentorships. Listen, be the change you want to see. So if you don't see it, you be it. You want it, you make it happen. You start it. So no, quit talking, do. All right. Take time to talk with your teams. Can I already share that? Thank you. Right at 11:57. Okay, great. Because I can talk a lot. So I pray that this was a help to you all. Again, I couldn't see everyone's comments or questions there. And if you have any questions, at this time I turn it back over to I think Sarah or Ashley to ask any questions, or hopefully we can help you with understanding anything.
Yes, thank you so much for Maurice. You did an outstanding job. It's a lot of content and a lot of information, and we really appreciate you being willing to share some of your personal experiences. And again, this webinar is being recorded, so it will be released on our YouTube channels, and we are opening it up for questions. If anyone has any questions, and we will make sure you get a copy of the webinar so you can go through the information in depth as you have time.